absolutely awesome dude, warrior in the faith. Met him sophomore year when he joined the track team. He also plays football here. Ethan Beaupre, Evo, Boop, whatever you want to call him. Like, he goes by many names. He's speaking to us tonight. If you remember last semester, Drew only came here because of Ethan. So he was the connection for that, and that was an awesome night as well. And so we're just really excited to hear his testimony tonight. So give it up to Boop.
As Grant said, I'm Ethan. He forgot to add the retired athlete part. Yeah, I love that. That's an important part. But no, I'm just really excited to get to talk about all you guys. I think what I have is a decently good message. We'll find out if it's not good at all. But I'm just really excited to be here and get to talk about all you guys. So the thing I wanted to kind of start off with was a couple verses that I feel like, as I look back on the things I'm going to talk about tonight, really exemplify what God was trying to do through me, but also where I'm trying to go. It's these two right here, Proverbs 16:9 and 19:21. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. And additionally, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. I feel like for me, when we kind of break down kind of the things I want to talk about, you're going to see a lot of times with me trying to do what I wanted to do and not really trusting what He had for me. And the biggest thing when I learned to grow my faith and get a lot stronger in it was to just let it go and let His plan follow me to where it needed to be, right? I'm never going to be able to plan everything I need to do, but He knows what's going to be and kind of where I need to be at. And that's kind of part of the reason why I even decided to take this step along. It felt like it was something I called me to do. So. But before I really dive into it, I want you guys to think about this question. What was your big dream that you guys had in your life as a kid? Right? All of us kind of had that thing, whether it be sports, whether it be a job, whether it be a place you wanted to live. But what was that thing for you guys? I'd love if you guys could just talk to your tables real quick, and then I can get a couple people to kind of say that out loud.
When I was a kid, there's no doubt I was getting more. So you're asking me to I would acknowledge it. I missed it about like 4 years ago.
Alright, so can I get a couple people to just share out loud? Okay, go to soccer. Go else. It's just you guys are just talking about it.
He has a really good one. I really wanted to be a world trainer at SeaWorld.
Okay. Can I get one more?
Oh!
Yeah.
I wanted to be that guy who stands outside during the hurricane.
That's an interesting one. So, who we point at? All right, go ahead.
I was saying like a fishing and hunting guy.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of wanted y'all to think about that because as I talk through how God has changed my life and how His will has kind of shaped where I am, I kind of want you to also think, how has that changed in your life, right? How has that original dream that you had, whether it be playing Division I sports or being a hunting, fishing person, like how has that changed and your thing's been shaped in different ways? So for me, I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as I'm shocked to know not many people know where that is. It's up in northeast Indiana. I went to a very small school, K through 8. It had 200 kids in the entire school, so there's just not a lot there. It was a Lutheran church and school, so that's kind of the place that I came to know of God. And I say that in a specific way of know of God because I learned who He was, I learned what Christ had done, and I learned that there were some very important days that need to be at church. And that was kind of the extent of it. I didn't really take it anywhere. I didn't really do anything with it. It was just kind of existing, right? I knew what it was, but I didn't really dive into it at all. So as I kind of got to the point where, as you guys have said, your guys' dreams, I finally figured out what mine was through my passion of sports, right? And I knew that I wanted to be a Division I football player. I wanted to be in the Big Ten, and I specifically wanted to go to Michigan, but that was never going to happen. And that's kind of where I really got to this point where it was time for me to make decisions to either focus on my goal or to focus on Christ. And because my goal was so inward forced on me, myself, that's just what I took and ran with, right? So despite me being at the Lutheran school and the church, I just didn't really care to do anything with it. I wanted to focus on sports, and that pushed me to my decision to leave that school and go to a middle school of 1,000 kids, right? A huge culture shift for me, as I now have to find new friend groups. But I also, in that time, just kind of left my faith behind me, right? There was nothing that pushed me to do it every day. There was no classes that I had in the public schools that did anything like that. So it was kind of on me, and nothing really came from that. But I didn't really have a problem with it because I had no issues through my young life, right? Everything was perfect for me. I had my 2 rocks, my mom and my dad, and I thought that's all I needed, right? And who Christ was, I didn't think I really needed Him at that time. So as I began to move through middle school, through the first 2 years, everything was going smooth. I was playing well in sports, the ones that I chose to do, between basketball, football, and track. And family life was going well, had no issues at home, and even in my side endeavor where I showed 4-H, which is something nobody really knows, the Catalan codes for a long time, I was successful in that. So everything I did, I never really had an issue with, right? As I said earlier, my 2 rocks were my mom and my dad, and I feel like kind of the biggest thing that showed it would have been this week of mine getting ready to go into 8th grade. So in the span of the 3 days that are shown up here, I had to do a goat show on Wednesday night, travel to north of Detroit for this football tournament on Friday and Saturday, or on Thursday and Friday, and then return back to Fort Wayne for the cattle show on Friday night. So I had 2 places to be and not a lot of time to do that. And my mom and my dad did everything they could to make that possible, right? My dad had been working all week in Southern Indiana. He barely got back in time for the goat show, and he was there to help in any way that he could through this time. As you see, young Drew, for those of you who remember when he was here, he came and helped out as well. But as soon as that show was done, we took off immediately to get up to Detroit. He even sacrificed his own bed that night and slept in a chair for us. That way me and Drew could have a bed. I mean, he just did everything that week to make it come true. Obviously, as we got through the tournament, right after this picture, which I don't know why I chose to hold a Fiji bottle. Our coach had us addicted to Fiji water for some reason. I don't know why. As an 8th grader, it's not a great choice financially. But yeah, so there's that photo. But and he rushed us back to Fort Wayne for the show. But even though my mom couldn't be there, she still did everything she could back at home in Fort Wayne to make sure that the animal was taken care of, everything was getting prepared, and that I could be able to make this play thing where I had to be in 2 places at once come true. And I was very, very grateful for that. And kind of as anything, when you're this busy, you never get a chance to slow down until you get towards the end of it, right? And finally, when I had my chance to slow down, was when I had noticed that on my dad's face, kind of on the left cheek that's facing you guys, that he had a small mass that was kind of forming right there through that cheekbone. obviously, as a young kid, you don't think this is ever going to affect your family, especially when nothing has ever affected your family, right? Everything's gone perfect till now. So I kind of brushed it off, but it was there in my mind, like, I don't know really what this is. So kind of a couple weeks after my adventurous week that I had between Fort Wayne and Detroit, my mom and my dad had sat me and my sister down and her kids and gave us the news that he had stage 4 esophageal cancer. And at this point when they had caught it, it had already spread to his lungs, it had already spread to his liver, and it had spread to many of his bones, including breaking a couple of ribs to the point where like he couldn't cough without having. So, as you can imagine, life is just flipped upside down, right? Because now you have the person I view as my rock the entire time, just, you know, potentially facing life or death, potentially looking at a life that I have to live without him being there. And through this entire time, I just neglected being close to Christ. I neglected doing anything with it outside of maybe once every couple months, you know, going to a youth group and that be it, right? So all I knew how to do when I went to God in this moment was complain. Why did you pick my family? Why did you pick my dad? Why did you pick him out? He's supposed to be here for everything. Like, why did you do this? But I never understood, you know, what he was trying to show me, if he was trying to grow me in anything, and just really where any of this was going to go. So really through this entire time, it was just me sitting there and complaining, but then taking no steps with it. After about a couple months into November, he had seen some progress moving forward, which was great. That's where I really thought he was going to get through it. But 3 months following that, on February 19th, which is today, for those of you who don't know the calendar, at about 2 minutes ago, he passed away. It was 8 years to today that had happened. And as you can tell, it's something that still affects me to today, but I think the thing that hurts me the most was how much I was still caught up in my dream. I wasn't even there when he passed away. I was off at a football practice because I had to focus on what I had to do. And it hurts me to this day to not be there to say I love him one last time, as he was getting ready to pass. So, but again, I just went back to what I knew, and what I knew was complain. I was pretty dang good at it at that time. Some guys know I'm still pretty good at it. So I just complained to God, and I just did nothing with it. Just like, why'd you take him from me? And really, the only thing that stuck with me was my dad never showed any weakness through this stuff. He never slowed down in his work or anything like that, so that's what I had to do, right? So my way of coping through this was just to lower my head and work, right? That's kind of all I really knew what to do or how to do. That's what finished up my 8th grade year when he had passed. That kind of epitomized what freshman year was, where it was just I had my dream, and I just focused on my dream. I didn't really have much else outside of that. And it showed how weak I was whenever people brought up faith. You know, countless times throughout this entire process, Drew, and I'm going to talk, you know, a lot about him tonight because he is that guy that never stopped for me, right? Everyone has that person that never stopped pursuing them to help them bring them to Christ, and he was that guy. And I was just too stubborn to listen. I was just too stubborn to finally take his advice and finally like try to give my life into this. I just lowered my head and worked and worked and worked and worked, and it didn't matter what anybody had to say. So that kind of carried me through freshman year, sophomore year. And as we get into the sophomore year, that's when COVID hit for me. Obviously, for the rest of y'all, it's at different times than that. But that's when it hit for me, and that was the time that I was very unsure about everything. Because if my dream was to be D1, my dream was to be at the University of Michigan, I had nothing. No colleges were calling, not even small schools. I mean, I had nothing. I didn't know where my life was going to go. I didn't even know if we were going to play that fall. Luckily, we did here in Indiana, but it just followed with more questions as we got later and later in the season. I still continued to hear hear nothing. And the unfortunate thing was, as Wags knows, he was there that day as we were playing them. I was in the middle of a play, just doing my job, and my teammate, doing his job, just pulled over through somebody, and they rolled about 5 yards into the back of my knee. Right there in that moment, I completely tore my ACL. And not only had I lost what was a decent season for me, but I had just lost how much time to trying to get to a college, right? And now I'm at the point of, what am I even going to do? Right? This is that kind of that identity crisis because I had just made sports so much of my life and not let Christ kind of be that spot. Right? I didn't know what he was doing for me. I didn't know that he was trying to intend it for me to come back to him, and I just didn't listen. I complained again, because why not? So it was really, really tough for me to go through that because I thought everything that had to be done was on my own, right? And nothing was ever him. There was never anyone else that could help me through any of these things. I got very, very lucky to get through rehab as fast as I did and get back and have at least a decent season to where a couple schools wanted me to play and at least go there. Because I honestly thought I was just going to go to a big school, just sit in my little corner, do my classes, and get out of there and do a job. And this is kind of where I feel like in my story I can see a distinct turn in that voice that I was listening to, which was God's, and now that I realize it, and started to actually kind of like take what he had to say into consideration despite not really knowing who it was. I was between 3 schools. All of them had their perks, and honestly, this one, for no logical reason, should have been the one I picked. It doesn't even have the major that I'm doing here at all, so I have to go to grad school. And as I think a lot of us know, this place is not cheap. And neither was even the financial package I got. It was still not cheap. But for some reason, something continued to push me to be here. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why, but it just felt right. You know, I think a lot of us felt that way with picking here. Was something just felt right. And I didn't know at that time that that was his first step in kind of pushing me back towards him and kind of that life that he wanted me to live. So as I get through, you know, freshman year, not a whole lot goes on. Again, I'm still just focused on sports, what I'm doing, and all that stuff. Notice I'm really bored second semester because apparently you get a lot more time when you're not in season than you are in season, which was very weird for me since I'd always been in sports. Kind of get through freshman year, I spent a lot more time probably at home than I did here because it's what was comfortable. I wasn't really comfortable here with a lot of people, with a lot of communities. I didn't really feel like I had a true community when I was here, at least freshman year. So as I kind of, you know, worked through that, got into sophomore year, something kind of in me towards the end of first semester sophomore year was like, hey, why don't you go try to run track? You haven't been able to run it in 5 years because of COVID and injuries. You should try it. So I did. I asked this specimen, I asked Coach Slack if I could get a chance to run track. He said, let me think about it, you know, talk to me. He said, I'll give you a try at least. You have no times for anything, but I'll at least give you a try. So apparently I did enough to impress him and allow me to be on the team, which I didn't know was going to be the biggest step in my life because not only as we've heard Slack speak many times before and how big of a Christ follower he is himself, it allowed me to run into these 2, Grant and Sam, who, yeah, I don't know why you had frosty tips there. Which these 2 were so instrumental into me because I had finally like softened my heart towards Christ to allow me to be there, but those 2 just never stopped. Every single day was, hey, how can I pray for you today? Or how are you doing? Or what do you want to talk about? They allowed me to finally open up to a lot of people that I had never been able to before, but also they gave me the community that I was yearning for here. Right? They gave me somebody that I could go to in any situation that I didn't feel like I just had to call home every single time because my mom They gave me people that I could really, really rely on, but also ask questions to grow in my own faith, to take those next steps forward. And I just feel like that was the biggest reason why I had that urge to try to run track. No, I'm not saying I was a terrible athlete, but I wasn't the greatest. Couldn't beat Grant, couldn't beat Sam. So that tells you anything. But it was more, I was on that team for the community. I was on that team to learn more about Christ, to grow closer to Him, and to finally realize that this was His will playing out in my life because He had a plan for me at some point. And those guys did so much on me in those 3-4 months that I was there for that season in the spring, that I knew it was time for me to stop playing around with it, stop bouncing around the question, and I needed to devote my life. And that's when I decided to, when I head home, go and get baptized. Obviously, I would have loved Drew, or if Sam and Grant could have been there, but they kind of lived far away from me. So the next best choice was Drew, but I just knew it was perfect because he had been the one that had started so long ago on trying to get me here and get me to this point of truly accepting Him. So I know for me, in this moment, something that was huge as I kind of began to realize how Christ was working through me was this verse. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. It's actually 3 verses, so I can't read. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. This just kind of really stuck out at me because I didn't really know where to go, right? Now getting so far in my career that it's like the real world's around the corner. I don't want to think about it, but I kind of have to think about it. And this really just showed me how simple it is to see what God has planned for you, right? It's such a simple formula there of rejoicing, praying, giving thanks to Him for you to finally see where's that next thing He wants you to do. Is it you go donate your time somewhere? Is it you stand up here and deliver a message that you've seen many people do before, right? Is it you go be a pastor? Is it you go be, a missionary, right? There's so many different things. Or maybe it's you to go live somewhere, affect a new community, and found something new, right? It just really helped a lot, especially when I began to listen and act out the words that He had given me. And I just saw my own growth take off a lot in this moment. So, again, I'm going to fast forward a little bit more. Not a whole lot happened until this community drove through kind of junior year. And then we get to October 18th. Don't know how many of you know what was that day. But if you were watching the live stream that day of the Paul versus John Carroll, I'm very apologetic for the 15-minute commercial break in the middle of the second quarter. Because I was on the other side of that ambulance. I had the unfortunate luck of going to make a tackle. My teammate was coming in to absolutely clock the opponent, and instead of clocking the opponent, he clocked me pretty good in the top of the head. I could tell in that moment my neck went from here to here, and something was not totally right. Didn't lose feeling or anything, didn't black out in the moment, but what really got me was when Lindsay is over top of me holding my neck to make sure I don't move it and break it in any way. And she's like, yep, there's something moving back here. So that did not calm me at all. And then when Dr. Harsha, which if you guys know me and my relationship with Harsha, you know how much I love hearing from him, he also confirmed that. So that was not a great moment for me here in this. Obviously pretty scary because you don't know, being a senior, I didn't know if this was the end of sports, right? If this meant I was done with that. What I was more worried about was how is everyday life going to be affected? How is it going to be affected for me just walking through the house? How is it going to be affected for me just trying to get ready in the morning? Am I going to have somebody help me every single time to do everything? There's just so many other things that were focused in my mind other than just playing sport. So, for some reason, they decided Danville was the better hospital to go to. So after a 45-minute bumpy ride, sitting in the ER room realizing how stupid I look in those mirrors that they have with that C-collar on. Finally got through different testing and stuff, and this is where I really feel like if you've truly committed yourself to God, you see Him watching over you in so many different ways. Not a single time at least during the game, did I think, man, God is great right now. Man, I'm so glad He's protecting me right now. Yet in this moment, He found a way to protect me even when I wasn't thinking about it. And this is just me, and you can call me psychotic for this, but I attribute part of that to my boldness to where it is. As you can see, Coach Woodard, he's kind of carrying me. So here's what it actually is. I had decided that for my junior and senior year that I wanted to be bold in my faith and who I was and be someone that people could come to and talk about their own journey with Christ. And I chose every single game to wear that back plate and have it out and show that to everybody. And if you guys have a chance, I would so recommend being able to do that because you never know the people that you get to run into and talk to, especially from other teams. But I think that bit of boldness I had was the thing that allowed me to escape this entire thing with just neck strains. Not a broken bone, not a pinched nerve, not even a concussion with how hard I got smacked. But what I think it did reveal to me was it gave me a chance to slow down in how busy life can be and listen to what God has. The entire time, I'm staring at a ceiling in a C-collar. I can't exactly look anywhere because they don't let you turn your neck in those things. And you just get to sit and listen. And I felt like I could finally hear Him saying what He wanted me to do. He wanted me to be more gracious, but also just be even more bold than what I was already, right? I finally felt the calling to do something like this tonight, to come up here and share who I was, but also how He has shaped me. And I finally felt that His will was clear for me. Now, obviously, for some of you guys, I hope that it doesn't have to get to something this extreme, that you can finally see that, but that's what it took for me because that's what He knew would get His point across. So I feel like in this entire time, my story really, you can see how God took everything that He had in my life, the highs and the lows, and specifically these four that I pointed out, continued to work through me and also to work towards me. He never gave up with where I was, and He always kept trying to find me. I feel like something that exemplifies this so well is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans that prosper you and not harm you, plans that you will in the future. I mean, He's got your back. As we saw in the Proverbs verses, right? It's His plan that's going to eventually come to the forefront, right? It's not what we have. And if His plans will prosper you and give you hope in the future, right, then what else are we to trust Him, right? I mean, He's got it all figured out for you and where you need to go. This just gives me comfort because even if it's not money-wise or success-wise, like not every athlete here is going to be a top-tier athlete here at the ball, right? Some of you are going to probably be like me and just kind of be along for the ride, right? Not get to play as much, but being able to be, that beacon of hope for others to continue to grow their faith, but also look for spiritual richness, right? It's not just being rich in your life and what you have, but being rich in your journey with Christ and your relationship with Him. I feel like one final verse that I can kind of add to that here, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve God's will. It's good, perfect, and pleasing will. And every single step that He has for you, He's not leading you astray at all. You may not be able to understand it in the moment. You may not be able to understand it when you look back on it. Just like I still don't understand why He chose to take my dad away from me at the time He did. I don't know. I probably won't have that answer until I get to go meet Him one day. But I completely trust that what He did that for had a purpose and put me in the spot that I needed to be at today. And will put me in the spot that I need to be at 5, 10, 30 years from now. And it's all through that transformation of ourselves, right? All through that commitment of ourselves to go completely all in for Him, right? Is that famous verse in Matthew is pick up your cross daily and follow Him, right? What can you do each day to do that? And you'll be able to kind of figure out what your will is. So I just really, really hope that through hearing this, that you guys can now think back to this question that you started with and truly think, how has what my plan was shifted to what now my plan will be, right? How has God taken, I set this plan out, but God had this plan for me. How has He turned me from this path to this path, right? How has He truly worked through the highs and the lows that you've experienced to get on what He has destined for you? The biggest thing that I would say is just allow His purpose to take over for you and let Him turn what your life is into an absolute masterpiece. So, with that, I say thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I do have some discussion questions for y'all to discuss. I got a lot of them, so bear with me in this moment. But I really appreciate everyone being here, listening tonight, even through the potential storm outside and all that. So, you guys can go ahead and get your groups and kind of talk about these.
I kind of think when I think about something, I think of how comparison can give joy. I think a lot of times, especially going to school where everybody here is pretty good at something, and everybody's, especially myself, is focused on a lot of times being better at your sport or being better in the classroom than other people. And I think sometimes just more in a broad sense, I and a lot of other people probably get caught up in that type of rat race thing, and that's things that are for the world goes on, and a lot of those things aren't what God has planned for you. So I think sometimes when we're God is just not worrying too much about things that are of this world, that's focus on the spiritual vision.
I took every one, so we laugh and just get better. That is something that I feel like is successful in our relationship with God when we reach God just come to trust God instead of
It's kind of hard to go on one.
I just really want to be so I have a pretty good idea of stuff that is potential but
we're not going exactly to my plan. It's more of a lot of that.
Instead of like being like anxious and like nervous about like
I try to sort of read this persevere, so I'm working pretty much this week. So it's it's super easy to start out. I think for me, maybe I just maybe a little bit like singing or music. Those comparisons, I mean,
the feelings and stress are like
I kind of think of like, being still and knowing that He's God. Like sometimes, like I read scripture and like I get motivated to like do something in my life, like make a change for the better. And I'm trying so hard to do something myself, and kind of forgetting about just be still and have faith in God. And then I can't tell you how many times like I've come to God and that without maybe going further, and then I read something in scripture or something, and I get that, oh yeah, I wasn't supposed to try to do it. more intentional, like to do things with God and not trying to do that on my own, and then I'll find more
Alright, I don't mean to cut off any of these discussions. I know I put a lot of questions out there. I know these our table, we spent the entire time just talking about number 4. So if you guys would like these questions to keep kind of thinking on them, just let me know kind of afterwards. Or we can send them out to the FCA group chat, I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem. But kind of just the really last thing I wanted to leave you with is, if any of you guys have seen my Spotify Wrapped, you know I listen to way too much music in a year. That's kind of always been, my thing I'm into. And even in the times that I wasn't close with God, or the times that I really was with Him, I've always found this song to be one that I've always gravitated back to. I'll Find You by Lecrae featuring Tori Kelly. It's just a song that I felt like at any moment, no matter if it was a high or a low, there was always a lyric or a line in there that connected to me in that exact moment, right? Always talking about how Christ never stops for you. He is always looking to come and get you and to bring you home with them. So if you guys have time, I would love if you guys could check that out, outside of this and kind of see how that affects you. And if there's even other songs that, would allow you to kind of feel that way and always feel really connected. So with that, I'll go ahead and pray us out, and then I think we're going to have a couple of things. So, Lord, just thank you for today. Thank you for allowing weather to hold off just enough that all of us could get here tonight to FCA. Lord, I just hope that tonight delivers something that was good enough to spark a couple people to be very, very bold in their faith, to learn to grow even more and more, but also that we may continue to look inwards and see what do you have in line for us, what do you have in store for us, and how we can pursue that with everything we have. Lord, I just ask that you watch over everyone that's in this room, all the current athletes, the current in-season athletes, but also just all the other people that have different things going on. That you may bless them this week and the following months to come. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ethan. That was awesome. How impactful is the testimony, man? Right? Like from one of us. Obviously, we love bringing in speakers. We love hearing from them. But I think my favorite meetings have been testimonies, right? Because we're able to hear how God is working in the lives of students here at DePaul. And so, if that's something you'd like to do, if you'd like to share your testimony at a meeting, we can absolutely have a conversation about that. Like we would love to have more students sharing their testimony. So just be praying about that and asking, maybe that's God, God's put that on your heart and that's something you should do. And just one other thing tonight, like Boop talked about his story, finding Jesus. Like He's the way, the truth, and the life. And if you're kind of uncertain about that, you want to have more conversations, if you want to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, please come talk to us. Come talk to someone on leadership. We would love to pray with you, have that conversation with you. If you're looking to get more involved at the food pantry or Bible studies or go to church with someone, come talk to us. We have plenty of opportunities for you. Thank you, everyone who made the time to come out here tonight and weather the storm. You can write down prayer requests and pray. Thank you.